Adam had always been excited about the idea of traveling to other worlds. As a soldier in the human peacekeeping force, he had seen many alien planets, but none quite like Velar, the home of the Zelari. Zelari were an advanced and proud species, known for their intelligence and their control over their emotions. They kept their distance from other species, focusing on logic and order above all else. Today, Adam was standing in a grand hall filled with high-ranking officials from various worlds, including the Zelari. It was a diplomatic event, meant to bring together the leaders of different species to discuss peace and cooperation. Adam had been chosen to attend because of his role as a representative of Earth's military forces. The hall was magnificent, with walls made of shimmering silver metal and enormous windows that looked out onto the lush landscape of Velar's capital. Adam felt a little out of place among the alien dignitaries. His Earth uniform, simple yet polished, seemed to stand in stark contrast to the elegant robes of the Zelari leaders. As he surveyed the room, his eyes were drawn to one figure in particular. She was tall, even taller than most of the Zelari, with strikingly beautiful features. Her skin had a soft, pale blue hue, and her long, flowing hair shimmered like starlight. Her presence seemed to command the room without a word, and Adam couldn't help but watch her, though he quickly looked away when their eyes met. That was Zalara. Zalara was one of the highest-ranking members of the Zelari Council. She had a reputation for being cold and calculating, never showing any sign of emotion. Most of the other species treated her with a mix of respect and fear. The Zelari were known for their strict discipline, and Zalara embodied that perfectly. But there was something in her eyes that Adam couldn't ignore, something that made her stand out from all the other leaders. As Adam moved through the crowd, his heart raced a little faster. He didn't know why, but there was something about her that pulled him in. He told himself it was nothing, just curiosity, after all. They were from completely different worlds. She was a high-ranking alien princess, and he was just a human soldier. What could they possibly have in common? But despite his thoughts, he found himself gravitating toward her. He didn't want to, but there was an undeniable pull. It was close now, standing just a few feet away from her. Her gaze shifted toward him, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked again. "Human," she said, her voice soft but commanding. "I've been briefed about you." Adam didn't know how to respond. There was an awkward pause before Zalara continued, her expression unreadable. "You seem out of place here," she said. "This gathering is for leaders. Are you truly one of them?" Adam blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "No, I'm not a leader," he replied quickly. "It's just a soldier. But I was chosen to represent Earth for this event." He gave a small, respectful nod. Zalara's eyes narrowed slightly, but she said nothing for a moment. Adam felt a strange sensation, as if she were looking straight through him, assessing him in a way that made him feel vulnerable. "Interesting," she said at last. "I had expected someone more imposing." Adam laughed nervously. "I'm not much for intimidation, but I'm here to do my job." Zalara looked at him for a moment longer, her face still neutral. Then without another word, she turned and walked away. Disappearing into the crowd of alien leaders, Adam stood there, feeling oddly unsettled. There was something about her, something about that brief interaction that stayed with him. He didn't know why, but he felt as though he had just been part of something important, something bigger than himself. He shook his head, trying to clear the thoughts from his mind. He was here to represent Earth, to help ensure the peace between the different species. There was no room for distractions, but as he walked through the hall, mingling with the other delegates, his eyes kept wandering back to Zalara. She was talking to a group of alien leaders, her posture straight, her expression unreadable as always. Yet there was something different in the way she held herself. Adam couldn't put his finger on it, but it was as if she was fighting something. Inside of her, he felt a small ache in his chest. It was a strange feeling, one he hadn't expected to experience in such a formal setting. Maybe it was the fact that they were from such different worlds that made her so intriguing, or maybe it was something more. Adam shook his head again. He couldn't afford to get distracted by his feelings. Not now, not with the delicate balance of peace in the galaxy hanging in the balance. As the night wore on, Adam did his best to stay focused. But no matter how hard he tried, His mind kept drifting back to Zalara and the strange feeling she had left in his heart. After the diplomatic gathering, Adam couldn't stop thinking about Zalara. Her cold demeanor and sharp words had stayed with him long after the event ended. He had expected a formality from her, something detached and professional. But there was something more, something in her eyes that spoke of conflict, something deeper than he could understand. As the days passed, Adam found himself assigned to work closely with the Zalari, including Zalara herself. Despite his role as a human soldier, he was expected to help in securing peace between the species. He quickly became aware of how tightly controlled Zalara was, keeping herself distant from everyone and hiding her emotions behind a mask of calm. It wasn't that she was unkind. On the contrary, she was sharp, brilliant, and insightful in the meetings. She had an almost unnatural ability to stay in control, her voice steady, her decisions firm. But Adam noticed that there was a subtle tension in the way she carried herself. It was as if there was an invisible wall around her, one she built to protect herself from anything, especially people. He tried to keep his distance, but it was hard when she was always in the same room, always at the center of every discussion. Her presence was so commanding that it left little space for anyone else to take the lead. One day, after a particularly heated council meeting, Adam found himself walking down a hallway deep in thought about the ongoing peace talks. He barely noticed Zalara standing at the end of the corridor until he almost walked right into her. "Human," she said, her voice as cold as ever. "Are you following me?" Adam stepped back, feeling awkward. "No, I wasn't following you. I was just thinking," he replied. She studied him for a moment, her icy blue eyes searching his face. Adam felt exposed, like she could see straight through him, into the thoughts he hadn't even voiced. "You have a way of getting in my head," Zalara said, her tone not quite accusatory, but more puzzled, as if she didn't understand why. She was feeling the way she was. "It's distracting." Adam frowned. "I didn't mean to cause you trouble. I'm just trying to do my job." There was a long silence between them, one filled with unspoken thoughts. Adam didn't know how to respond. He had always been good at staying professional, at keeping things in order. But with Zalara, it felt like the rules were different. Wasn't sure if it was because she was an alien or because she was ... Well, Zalara could never figure out how to talk to her without feeling like he was walking on a tightrope. "Do you ever stop thinking?" Zalara asked suddenly, her voice quiet. Adam was taken aback by the question. I don't know, I guess not. It's hard to turn off sometimes." "Why?" She seemed to struggle with something, as if the words she was about to say were stuck in her throat. After a moment, she shook her head, the gesture small but meaningful. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Forget I asked?" Adam could see the change in her, the way her mask of control slipped just for a second, revealing something beneath. She was human, in a way. He could see it now. Zalara wasn't as cold as she appeared. She was struggling with something. But Adam couldn't figure out what it was. Before he could respond, Zalara turned away and walked down the hallway without another word. Adam watched her go, feeling a strange pull in his chest. He didn't know why, but he felt sorry for her, even though he had no idea why she was struggling that night. As Adam lay in bed, trying to sleep, he couldn't stop thinking about their brief conversation. There was something about Zalara that didn't match the rumors he had heard. Everyone spoke of her as this untouchable, powerful leader who didn't let anything or anyone distract her from her duties. But Adam saw a different side, a side that seemed just as confused and vulnerable as anyone else. In the days that followed, Adam saw more of Zalara in these quiet moments. She would appear in the halls, lost in thought, or stand by the windows of the council chamber, looking out at the vast landscape of Velar, as if she were waiting for something to change. She seemed far away, her mind always somewhere else. But the most surprising thing was how much she tried to keep her emotions hidden. Adam had learned that the Zalari were taught from a young age to control their feelings, to avoid letting anything anger, joy, sadness take over. To them, emotions were a sign of weakness. They believed that only through control, could they achieve true peace. And yet, here was Zalara, a woman who had mastered the art of control, and yet seemed to be struggling with something that had nothing to do with logic. For the first time, Adam began to see her as more than just an alien leader. He saw a person. Someone who was dealing with something deep inside, something that had nothing to do with the peace talks or the council, something far more personal. And it made him wonder just how much Zalara was hiding as the days turned into we. Kay's Adam found himself more and more caught up in her struggles, in the quiet moments where she let her guard down. He knew he shouldn't get involved. He had a job to do. But it was impossible to ignore the way she made him feel like there was something more between them, something that neither of them could deny. But whether it was destiny or just the following days on Velar were filled with the usual diplomatic duties. But Adam's mind was nowhere near the peace talks or the endless meetings. Every time he saw Zalara, there was a strange pull in his chest. And he couldn't shake the feeling that something was slowly changing between them. Zalara had been distant, as always, but there were small moments when her mask slipped, just enough for Adam to see the person she was beneath the cold leader. He had noticed it more and more, and each time it happened, it made him wonder what was truly going on inside her. What was the story behind the cool exterior? One day, as Adam was walking back to his quarters after a long meeting, he noticed Zalara standing alone in one of the courtyard gardens. The sun had just begun to set, casting a golden light over the flowers and trees. For a moment, she looked like she didn't belong in such a peaceful setting. Her thoughts far away, lost in a world of her own. Unable to resist, Adam slowly approached her, unsure of what to say. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable, but he felt an overwhelming need to reach out. "Zalara?" he called softly, not wanting to startle her. She turned, and for a moment, their eyes met. There was a flicker of something in her gaze, something that almost looked like surprise, but it was gone too quickly for him to be sure. "What is it, human?" Her voice was calm, but there was a slight tremor in it. Something Adam had never heard before. Adam hesitated, then took a few steps closer. "I've been meaning to talk to you. You don't have to answer, but I just want to know what's going on. I can see that something's bothering you." Zalara stiffened slightly, and for a brief second, Adam thought she might push him away. But instead, she sighed, as if she had been holding her breath for far too long. "I've been wondering the same thing," she said quietly. "Why am I so ... affected by you?" Adam blinked, surprised by the honesty in her voice. He had expected her to hide her emotions again, to retreat behind that unbreakable wall of control. But here she was, speaking openly, even if it was just a small crack in her otherwise impenetrable armor. "I don't know," Adam said honestly, "but I feel it too." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, but it was heavy with unspoken words. Felt like the air itself was charged, as though something was waiting to happen. Neither of them knew what it was yet, but both were starting to understand that things were changing in ways they hadn't anticipated. Zalara took a deep breath, as if gathering the strength to say something difficult. She turned away from him, looking out over the garden. The golden light of the setting sun glimmered off the flowers and the leaves, but it didn't seem to reach her. "You're human," she said, her voice low. "And yet you're different from the others. The others ... They don't make me feel this way. I am the leader of my people. I am expected to stay focused, to keep my emotions in check. And yet with you, I feel something I cannot control." Adam took a step closer to her, careful not to invade her space too much. "I don't know what it is, Zalara, but I think I understand. Maybe we're both ... confused, but I've never felt anything like this before either. I know you're not just some cold leader. There's something in you, something real." Her shoulders tensed, and Adam could see her trying to hold back something. Maybe tears, maybe frustration. She took another deep breath and turned back to face him, her eyes meeting his with a mix of uncertainty and something else, something Adam couldn't quite place. "I have spent my life learning how to suppress my feelings," she said, her voice quieter now. "Zalara believe that emotions make us weak. But you You make me feel alive in a way I don't understand. I shouldn't feel this way. Adam shook his head. Zalara, there's no reason to hide what you're feeling. It's okay to have feelings. You don't have to be perfect. We all have our struggles. For a moment, Zalara looked at him as if she was trying to decide whether to trust him. Adam could see the internal battle going on behind her eyes. She wanted to be strong, wanted to keep her distance. But something was drawing her toward him. He could see it now, clearer than ever. She was more than the cold leader everyone believed her to be. She was a person, someone who had been forced to hide who she really was. Finally, Zalara looked away, her gaze distant once more. I never asked for this. I never asked to feel ... this way. I didn't either, Adam admitted. Sometimes things happen that we can't control. There was a long silence between them as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting shadows over the garden. Zalara's expression softened, and for the first time Adam saw vulnerability in her that she had hidden so well before. She was no longer just a leader. She was a person, someone who struggled with the same things everyone else did. I don't know what this means for us, Zalara said finally, her voice almost a whisper. But I can't deny that something has changed. I feel it, and I think. You do too? Adam nodded, his heart beating faster. He had never expected this. He had never expected to feel such a strong connection to someone so different from him. But here they were, two people from completely different worlds, bound by something neither of them fully understood. I don't know what comes next, Zalara, Adam said, his voice gentle. But I want to find out. Zalara gave him a small, uncertain smile. It wasn't much, but it was enough. In that moment, Adam knew that this was only the beginning. Their journey had only just begun, and neither of them could predict where it would take them. But one thing was certain. They were in it together. The days that followed were filled with tension, but it was the kind of tension that felt different. It wasn't the kind of tension that came from an external threat or from political pressure. It was personal, something between Adam and Zalara that neither of them could fully ignore anymore. Their conversations became more frequent. The small moments they shared, growing more meaningful. Zalara had always been reserved, her emotions carefully controlled, but around Adam, she began to let down her guard, even if it was just a little. For Adam, it was hard to ignore the pull he felt whenever he was near her. She had become a constant thought in his mind, and the more he learned about her, the more he realized how deeply he cared for her. But despite their growing connection, there was a wall between them that neither of them could quite break down. Zalara was the leader of her people, a powerful figure with a reputation for coldness. She had been taught all her life that emotions were a weakness, and she couldn't simply forget those teachings. Adam understood that, but it didn't make it any easier. One evening, after a long day of negotiations, Adam found himself walking through the quiet halls of the Zalari Council building. He had heard that Zelar would be in the garden again, for reasons he couldn't explain. He found himself drawn to her presence. As he entered the garden, he saw her standing near the edge, her back to him as she gazed at the stars and the night sky. The soft glow of the moonlight bathed her in a gentle light, making her seem almost ethereal. For a moment, Adam simply watched her, feeling an overwhelming sense of admiration. She was more than just a leader, more than just the cold figure everyone saw. Zalara was real, and he was beginning to understand the depth of her struggle. Zalara? Adam's voice broke the silence. She turned around slowly, her face expressionless as always, but there was a flicker in her eyes when she saw him. You shouldn't be here, she said, her voice calm but distant. It's late. Adam shook his head, taking a few steps forward. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything, about us. Zalara's brow furrowed, but she didn't speak. She simply watched him, as if waiting for him to continue. I don't know what this is, Adam began, his voice soft but steady, but I can't ignore it anymore. I don't want to, Zalara. I think I care about you. For the first time, Zalara seemed to be taken aback. Her eyes widened slightly, and she took a step back, her hand resting against the stone wall. Beside her, care about me? Her voice was barely a whisper, as if she couldn't believe what he had said. Adam nodded. Yes, Zalara. I can't pretend I don't feel it. Every time I'm near you, it's like something pulls me in. I can't explain it, but it's real. A long silence stretched between them. Zilara was still, her gaze locked on Adam, but her expression remained unreadable. She looked like she was trying to process everything he had just said, trying to figure out what it all meant. You shouldn't, she said finally, her voice low, almost as if she were speaking to herself. You shouldn't care about me. I am not like you. I am the leader of my people. I have duties, responsibilities. Feelings like this, they only make us weak. Adam felt a pang in his chest at her words. He wanted to reach out to her, too. Tell her that emotions weren't a weakness. But he knew it wasn't that simple for her. I don't think they're weak, he said quietly. I think they make us stronger. They make us human. Zilara shook her head, her expression hardening again. You don't understand, she said, her voice firm. But there was a crack in it that betrayed her inner turmoil. I've spent my whole life learning to control my emotions, to be nothing but the leader, the protector of my people. If I let you in, everything I've worked for, everything I've believed in, would fall apart. Adam took another step toward her. I'm not asking you to change who you are, Zilara. I'm not asking you to give up everything you've fought for. I just don't want to pretend anymore. Not with you. I can't. For the first time, Zilara let her guard slip entirely. The coldness in her eyes faded, replaced by something more vulnerable. But it was only for a moment. She quickly turned away, her shoulders tense. You're right, she said, her voice tight. You can't pretend. Neither can I, but that doesn't mean this is the right thing. You're human. I am Zalari. Our worlds are too different. This connection we have, it could destroy everything. It could destroy us. Adam didn't know how to respond. He could see the fear in her eyes. The fear that everything she knew would collapse if she allowed herself to feel anything for him. But he also knew that they couldn't keep pretending like nothing was happening between them. I'm not asking you to ignore your people, Adam said gently. I'm asking you to trust me. Trust us. Zilara looked away, her voice barely audible. I don't know if I can. The silence that followed felt heavy, almost suffocating. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but Adam knew one thing for sure. They couldn't keep running from this. The truth was out in the open now, and no matter how hard Zilara tried to deny it, there was something real between them, a bond that neither of them could break. As Zilara turned away, eyes filled with uncertainty, Adam stayed rooted to the spot, watching her. He didn't know what the future held, but he was willing to fight for whatever this was. Whatever it could be. The days after their difficult conversation were filled with silence. Yet it was the kind of silence that spoke volumes. Adam couldn't stop thinking about Zilara, about her words, about the struggle that was written all over her face. He knew she was battling with something deep inside herself, something she couldn't easily push away. And yet, even though she had tried to distance herself from him, they both knew the truth. Something had shifted. Neither of them could go back. Despite the growing tension between them, Adam still had a duty to perform. He had been sent to Velar for a reason, to help facilitate peace between the different species. The galaxy was on the brink of chaos, and Earth's role was crucial. But every time Adam stepped into a meeting, every time he spoke with Zilara, or anyone else from the Zelari Council, his thoughts would inevitably drift back to her. It was as if everything else had become secondary to what was happening between them. One afternoon, Adam found himself waiting for Zilara outside the council chambers. He had been summoned for a meeting with her and the other leaders to discuss the latest developments in the peace talks. As he stood there, looking out at the sprawling gardens outside, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The political tension was rising, and the stakes had never been higher. He had to focus. He couldn't afford to be distracted by personal feelings. But just as he was about to step inside, the door to the council chamber opened, and Zilara walked out, her usual stoic expression in place. She didn't seem to notice him at first, her attention focused on the datapad she was reviewing in her hands. Adam watched her for a moment, as if taking in the sight of her without the usual formalities of their interactions. Zilara, he said, stepping forward, can we talk? She glanced up, her eyes betraying nothing, but Adam could see the flicker of hesitation in them. For a second he thought she might turn away, but then she simply nodded and walked towards a nearby balcony, motioning for him to follow. The two of them stood in silence for a moment, looking out over the city. The air was thick with the scent of alien flowers, and the sky was turning a deep shade of purple as the sun began to set. The city below was bustling with activity, yet it felt like the two of them were in a world of their own, separated from everything else. "I know we can't just pretend nothing's happened," Adam said, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, a frustration that he couldn't fully hide. "I can't stop thinking about what we talked about. And I know you can't either." Zalara didn't answer immediately. She took a deep breath, as though gathering the strength to say what she had been holding back. "I've been thinking about it too," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "And I still don't know what to do. I've spent my entire life learning to suppress my emotions. I was taught that feelings like these are a distraction, weakness. And now I don't know what to think." Adam stepped closer, his heart pounding in his chest. "Zalara, I don't think you're weak. Far from it. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. But being strong doesn't mean you have to shut everything out. You don't have to hide from yourself." Her gaze softened for a moment, but then she looked away, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "You don't understand? You don't know what it's like to be the leader of your people, to carry the weight of an entire world on your shoulders. I can't afford to let my emotions control me. I can't afford to care." "I know that," Adam replied, his voice steady. "But Zalara, you're not just a leader, you're a person. You deserve to have a life outside of duty. I know it's hard, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm here." Her eyes flicked back to him, and for the briefest moment, Adam thought he saw something in her gaze, something raw and vulnerable. But just as quickly it was gone, replaced by the familiar cold mask she wore so well. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered almost to herself. "I don't know how to open up, how to trust. I'm scared of what will happen if I do." Adam's heart ached for her. He knew she was terrified. She had been raised in a culture that told her to suppress everything, to be perfect, to never show weakness. And now she was standing on the edge, unsure of what would happen if she allowed herself to feel something for him. "I'm not asking you to do it all at once," he said softly. "I just want you to know that I'm here. For you, no matter what. You don't have to carry everything by yourself." Zalara remained silent, but Adam could see the conflict in her eyes. He could see that she was fighting with herself, torn between the person she had always been and the person she was starting to become. And he could see that, deep down, she wanted to take a chance. She wanted to believe that they could have something real. But the weight of her responsibilities, the fear of losing control, held her back. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Zalara spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to believe you. I want to trust you. But I don't know how." Adam placed a hand on her shoulder gently, offering her the support she needed without words. "We'll figure it out together." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply stood there, looking out over the city, feeling the weight of the future pressing down on them. The path ahead was uncertain, and there were still so many challenges to face. But for the first time in a long time, Adam felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could figure this out. Together, the next few days were filled with a sense of unease. The tension in the council chambers had grown, and the pressure to make decisions weighed heavily on everyone. The peace talks were at a critical stage, and Adam knew that every word, every action, could have lasting consequences for the galaxy. Yet, despite the urgency of the situation, his thoughts kept drifting back to Zalara too, the words they had shared, to the unspoken bond that was growing between them. Every time they spoke, every time their eyes met across a room, it was as if the rest of the world faded away. Adam had never felt this way about anyone before, and it was both exciting and terrifying. But he knew that their connection could never be simple. The differences between their species were vast, and the stakes were too high. It was more than just a personal relationship. It was about the future of peace between their worlds. Still, Adam couldn't ignore the feeling that something was changing. Zalara had begun to soften just a little. She would look at him in a way that made his heart race, as if she were considering something she had never allowed herself to think about before. But she still held back, still kept her emotions tightly controlled. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, Adam found himself walking in the gardens near the council building. He needed some time to think, to clear his mind. But as he wandered through the quiet pathways, he saw Zalara standing alone near a fountain, her gaze distant, lost in thought. Without thinking, he approached her. There was something about her, something that called to him, and he couldn't stay away. He had to know where they stood, had to understand what was happening between them. "Zalara," he called softly, his voice cutting through the stillness of the evening. She turned, her eyes meeting his. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The world around them seemed to disappear as they stood there, locked in an unspoken understanding. "Adam," she said quietly, her voice carrying a mix of weariness and uncertainty. "I didn't expect to see you here." Adam stepped closer, his gaze fixed on her. "I needed to see you. I can't stop thinking about what we talked about what we're both feeling. Can't keep pretending it's not there." Zalara looked away, her jaw tightened. "I told you before, Adam. I can't afford to care. I have a duty to my people, to my world. If I let this connection between us grow, it could destroy everything. I can't let that happen." Adam's heart sank, but he refused to give up. "You don't have to let go of your duty. But you also don't have to shut yourself off from everything else. You deserve to be happy, Zalara. You deserve to have something real, even if it's difficult." Her eyes flashed with a mix of frustration and fear. "It's not that simple. You don't understand the weight of my responsibilities. You don't understand what it's like to be responsible for an entire species. If I fail, if I let my emotions control me, it could lead to war, to destruction, and I can't let that happen." Adam reached out, placing his hand gently on her arm. "Zalara, I get it. I understand more than you think. But I can't keep pretending that this thing between us isn't important. We can figure this out together. I believe in us." For a long moment, Zalara didn't say anything. Her expression was conflicted, torn between the emotions she felt and the responsibility she had always carried. Adam could see the battle raging inside her, and he knew that this wasn't going to be an easy decision for her. But he also knew that they couldn't keep going on like this, forever hiding their feelings, forever pretending that the growing bond between them didn't matter. Finally, Zalara looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you want me to do, Adam? Do you expect me to just abandon everything I've worked for? To put my trust in something that's still so new? So dangerous?" Adam stepped closer, his hand now resting on her shoulder. "I don't want you to abandon anything, Zalara. I want you to take a chance, to trust me, to trust us. We can still do what's right for your people and mine, but we can't do it if we keep hiding from what's real between us." For a long time, Zalara said nothing, her gaze fixed on the ground as if trying to find the answer within herself. Adam could feel the weight of the decision pressing on her, but he didn't want to force her, just wanted her to know that he was here, that he was willing to fight for whatever future they could build together. At last, Zalara raised her eyes to meet his, and for the first time, Adam saw a flicker of something he hadn't seen before: hope. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was there. She took a deep breath, as if making a decision she had been avoiding for far too long. "Adam," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I'm scared, but maybe we can try. Maybe we can find a way to make this work." Adam's heart raced, a sense of relief flooding through him. He didn't know what the future held, but in that moment he knew that they had taken the first step. Together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice full of emotion. "We'll figure it out, together." The two of them stood in the quiet garden, the weight of their decision settling between them. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges they couldn't yet foresee. But for the first time, they both felt that they weren't alone in it. And no matter what came next, they would face it side by side. After Zalara's decision to trust Adam, things began to change between them. There was a new energy in the air, something lighter, as if the weight of the world had lifted just a little. They had both been carrying so much, Solara with her duties, and Adam with his own role as a soldier. But now, they shared a secret, a bond that no one else knew about. Their conversations grew more frequent, no longer filled with the cold formality of their past interactions. There was laughter between them, quiet moments where they could truly connect, away from the prying eyes of the galaxy. Yet, even with this newfound closeness, they both knew that their connection could never be fully hidden. The peace talks were growing more intense, and the political pressure on Zalara was increasing. One evening, Adam found himself walking in the quiet halls of the council building, waiting for Zalara to finish with a meeting, working with the other delegates. But now his thoughts were focused entirely on her. The way she had looked at him earlier, the Datha, hope in her eyes, had been a sign. She was starting to believe in the possibility of a different future, a future where they could be together, despite everything that stood in their way. The door to the council chamber opened and Zalara stepped out, her face set in its usual mask of control. But Adam could see the tiredness in her eyes, the way her shoulders slumped slightly. She looked like she had been carrying the weight of an entire galaxy on her back. Adam couldn't help but feel a deep sympathy for her, even though he knew that she was the one person who could hold that weight and still keep going. "Zalara," Adam said, stepping forward. She turned, her eyes softening when she saw him. "Adam," she replied, her voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. "I was hoping I'd find you here." He gave her a small, understanding smile. "I was just waiting for you." She looked around, as if ensuring that they were alone, then motioned for him to follow her. They walked down a long corridor, past a series of empty rooms, until they reached a small balcony that overlooked the city. The view was breathtaking, the skyline of Velar bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. Adam leaned against the railing, his eyes on Zalara. "How are you holding up?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stared out at the horizon, her mind clearly elsewhere. Adam could see the tension in her posture, the way she was trying to keep everything together. "I'm tired," Zalara said finally, her voice low. "Tired of the pressure, tired of always being the one who has to make the hard choices." Adam nodded, understanding completely. She had been raised to bear the responsibility of an entire species, to make decisions that could affect the future of the galaxy. It was a weight no one could truly understand unless they had been in her shoes. But Adam also knew that Zalara was more than just a leader. She was a person, and she deserved more than this life of constant duty and sacrifice. "I know it's not easy," he said softly. "But you don't have to do this alone. You've got me." For a moment, Zalara looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and doubt. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that there was a way for them to have a future together, but the reality of their situation always seemed to overshadow that hope. "I don't know if I can make that choice," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "I don't know if I can choose this. Choose us, over everything else. Over the peace talks, over my people." Adam stepped closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "You don't have to choose one or the other. You can find a way to make this work. But you have to choose what's in your heart. You have to choose what you really want." Zalara looked away, her eyes scanning the horizon, but Adam could see that she was struggling. She wanted to make a choice that would bring peace to her world, but at the same time, she wanted something for herself. She wanted to be free of the burden of leadership, even if just for a moment. "This isn't just about me," she whispered. "This is about the future of my people. If I fail, if I let my feelings get in the way, it could destroy everything." Adam reached out and gently touched her arm, his voice steady. "You won't fail. You've already shown incredible strength. Choosing to let yourself be happy, to trust someone else. That takes courage, but it's not failure. It's living." For a long time, Zalara didn't speak. She closed her eyes as if letting his words wash over her. Adam waited patiently, giving her the space to think, to come to her own decision. He knew this wasn't something she could rush. It was a decision that would affect not just their lives, but the lives of countless others. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Zalara spoke. Her voice was soft, but there was a firmness to it that Adam had never heard before. I've made my choice. Adam's heart skipped a beat as he looked at her. What is it? Zalara turned to face him, her eyes filled with determination. I choose us. I choose to trust in what we have, to believe in what we can build together. I've spent my life following the rules, doing what was expected of me. But now, I want to choose my own path. And I want you to be a part of it. Adam's breath caught in his throat. This was everything he had hoped for, everything he had dreamed of. He stepped forward, taking her hands in his. Zalara, you've just made me the happiest man in the galaxy. She smiled softly, a small, genuine smile that reached her eyes. Then let's face the future together, Adam, whatever it holds. As they stood there, hand in hand, looking out over the city, the future seemed a little less uncertain. The road ahead was still difficult, but for the first time, they both knew that they would face it together. That was enough.